There is a big problem with MacBook displays. Here's a 2020 MacBook Pro. Turn it on and look at this! Look at this! It's cracked right down there. What's going on, Apple? And this is our customer's original display that we changed out only a few weeks back that had the same exact issue. And apparently Apple is not taking the blame for any of these cracked displays, and we've received a lot of them over the last year. What's the deal? Apparently these systems are so fragile that even just the slightest bit of pressure is going to break your display. If not the glass, there's enough pressure on the internal LED that's going to break it. Though Apple is not taking the full blame, they really like to be hush-hush when it comes to their products breaking, because nobody likes to hear that their stuff is breaking, especially if it's not necessarily their fault directly. This is my MacBook Air. It's multiple years older than that other guy. Pretty much lives in my backpack with a ton of pressure on the front and on the back. Powers on with no lines. Apple quality has surely gone downhill. So what's Apple saying to do? Apple is warning against putting covers on the trackpad, on the keyboard, on the display, on the camera, because any tiny little bit of extra pressure is going to bust your display. It could even be a millimeter or two of thickness. That's also a good reminder never to stick anything in your display and close it, like papers, for instance. I've even had customers that complain that they don't stick anything in their display and their display busts. The most common thing that'll happen is your charger cable comes in here, you shut your display, and the added pressure from this busts the display. But that's not what's happening. I did have a customer admit that he's taken his laptop and sticking it between the seats in his car. That explains why his broke, but doesn't explain why people who don't put any pressure on here whatsoever, it doesn't explain why their laptops are breaking. Now, why is this happening? We don't know, but one thing for sure, with all Apple products getting thinner and thinner over the years, everything is becoming more fragile. Now take for instance Samsung and their displays. They now make flexible displays, which makes them a lot less likely to break, but Apple doesn't seem to be doing that. In fact, Apple tries to constantly make stuff and make it so intuitive that they make you believe that they invented all this amazing technology that has actually been on the market for years. Really what they do is they integrate it into their devices. Now what's Apple going to do about this? Probably nothing. What it means is they can sell more stuff. They can sell all their repairs, all their parts, and be making a good profit off of that. But what does it leave for consumers? Nothing. Consumers have to pay to get their products replaced or pay a good premium to get them repaired. Now these displays are not hard to replace at all. It could be a daunting task if you've never opened one of these before. When you pull the back cover off, you have to pull the top up slightly from the front and then slide it away from you. So you have the hinge here away from you, because these little guys are latching into that guy. When you open up the back, first thing you get off is this cover for the battery, and then unscrew the battery. This cable right here, very important. That's what communicates the battery information to the computer. Without that, your battery doesn't work properly. And make sure that this is disconnected. Unscrew all these top screws right here for your wireless. You want to unscrew these guys for the hinges, and you got 4 screws down there for this bar, plus the display cable screws, the lid switch screws, and under here your wireless cable and screws. Now just heads up, all these screws are practically different sizes. You have the star head that you use for the iPhones, star head and hex bits, and a larger hex bit or torque bit is what they're called. After unscrewing, you need to remove this bar right here. That's for your wireless. Carefully remove the rest of this. You have to lift up on the assembly here, the inverter board is what I call it, and then you can remove the wireless bar after unplugging. As long as you have this unscrewed, the whole 8 screws plus 2 here, make sure it's disconnected, and you can carefully pull up and pop off the display, and then you put on the new one. On the new display, carefully remove the masking tape to make the bar free, and you can fold it out. The only thing you may have to do is the hinge on both sides. You might have to adjust it out like this to be like the old display so you can fit into the hole on both sides. Remember, the process is reversed, so the screen goes on first. You don't have to tighten these down now, but you will. Make sure that this is up. The wireless cables are going down through this hole, and this is going under this board, and just like so. And remember, you're dealing with not just the board, but also the two lid switch cables, and make sure that the display cable is on the top side. What I like doing first is partially screwing these guys in. Instead of having the display hang down here, I now fold it under. It's no longer hanging off the edge. Don't risk damaging it. And I line up, make sure that the display is lined up on the front and on the sides before I tighten these guys down. And with these 6 torque screws tightened, we can put these covers on and then screw down the rest of this gear. Make sure everything's plugged in. Wireless display, make sure these guys are on properly. You want to rotate them towards you when you install them. Make sure the battery cable is in first before you tie down the battery. And the placement of the back panel, you have to put it down and slide it towards you because these bits have to latch into there. Before we remove the plastic, we're going to power it on and make sure everything works. You gotta make sure there's no lines up around anywhere, and then just log in and test the wireless webcam and the general functionality of the laptop works. What's your thoughts on this situation? Do you have a MacBook new generation for over the last few years? Is your display breaking? Have you had to replace it and pay the hundreds, if not over $1,000 to replace it? Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Can we make a class action lawsuit against Apple for their terrible designs? Good question. If there's a lawyer out there, would like to hear from you on this. This has been Lance with The Ultimate Postman. I will catch you later.